Welcome to Daggers and Shadow Daddies.
We're your hosts, Ryan and Adriana.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
Quick disclaimer, this is a reread for Fourth Wing and Iron Flame as we prepare for the book Onyx Storm. Spoilers ahead. I freaking love this book. I have re-listened to these chapters several times. The dramatized version, the audiobook version. We have the paperback books. Love, love, love. And we're getting into the chapters where I cannot control my reactions, where we're both listening to it together. And it just has these moments of their flirting, their banter, and Violet's just falling for him. I don't even know what noises I'm making. I'm just freaking out. While you're working, you just pause. You're staring at me.
Here's the thing. I pause before you make the noise because I remember certain parts of this book and I remember your reaction the first time. So I'm waiting to see if you get that same reaction the second time, and you do.
We have the same giddiness.
Yeah, and it is so funny to me because Xaden isn't great at flirting. He's just so aloof that then when he decides to be anything but aloof, it's like, oh, did you hear what he said to her? And I'm like, yeah, he should have said that a while back. Like,
oh, I know with my giddiness, it was actually him not even talking. It was just me getting giddy for the future scenes. Like we're laying down the groundwork.
It's all in service of the throne scene.
Yeah, because I saw this coming.
Literally.
Where he kneels down in front of her to tie up her boots or something like that. And she's just like having a moment with this. And now that I know he can hear these thoughts or at least something from it and what she likes and what she's into, I'm like, oh my God, this explains so much later and why he sets up this whole moment. But yet in this scene, he's cool as a cucumber, totally nonchalant.
So I'm with you on this, other than I'd like to add, you don't have to be an intrinsic to know that a girl likes to be worshipped like a queen and gone down on. I do love where you're like, he was able to piece this together due to his incredible mindset. How many of us do you think have that superpower? If you're a man and you're listening to this and it hasn't occurred to you that treat her like a queen all the time and then go down on her, that's going to work for you 99.999% of the time.
You are so mean.
I'm not.
I was so excited because I'm like, he can hear it. He knows she's into this. And
he knows she's into it because they all are. His skills in that area also are taught to him by another woman.
No, don't bring her up. It's so hurtful. I like to pretend that didn't happen.
Oh, no, man. I would take that as a great compliment. I never got jealous of the dudes who you were with before me because I'm like, wow, you guys put in all this effort. I appreciate everything you guys did in service of the rest of my life. Thank you.
That's a nice attitude about it.
Oh, I think it's the correct attitude. If he still wanted to be sleeping with Kat, he would still be with Kat.
What was another moment that I had that I was so excited? I didn't squeal. Oh, yeah. But essentially did. Yeah.
No, you did. You literally squealed. And I'm starting to wonder if you're listening to this at work.
I can't.
Because you make so many noises.
I get too excited in these moments where I'm just like, oh, this is coming up later. And I can't contain my excitement.
I love listening to this book with you. And like you, honestly, I missed this book. I love this book. Violet is soon to become a character that I really enjoy.
Because as of right now, you see her as...
Well, even within the chapters that we read, she's become more likable to me. Even if I think sometimes she has some absurd shit. Like, the last most annoying thing Violet does is assume that her mom doesn't want him to say Tarin's name because, then she wouldn't know the name. I'm like, what? She's like, she thinks I hijacked Tarin? And I'm like, there's no fucking way that's her assumption. Like, Violet, you little dummy.
Tarin's a victim to violence.
Well, and then the idea is like, everybody knows Tarin's first name. That's the only name everybody who was going to say the name would have known. So it was just Violet not thinking things through very well. That's my last annoying moment with Violet.
I think what's so hard is her mom didn't put in the effort to have the relationship where Violet would know her mom loves her so much and so deeply that when she needs to put on this face while she's at school, that Violet still understands how much her mom loves her.
Oh, I could not agree more.
In these moments. And it makes it so sad because Violet doesn't really get that back until her mom dies.
I could not agree more. I think that General Sorengale is a dick, right? In general. No pun intended there. I don't appreciate her. But it makes Violet so dumb whenever she tries to consider what her mom's thoughts or feelings are. For somebody that is so smart and portrayed to be so brilliant, and then she's like, she doesn't think I know his name. She thinks I hijacked him. I'm just like, no, idiot. She wants to give you this moment because you're just like every other writer, and you managed to, get with the biggest, baddest dude out there. I think she was giving her an opportunity.
Well, maybe in the later books, Violet's going to work through reflecting on her relationship with her mom and have a different outlook on it, and that's part of her grieving process.
Maybe. I don't see any issue with this, Lisa. It's just so funny because that's my last irritated moment with Violet where I'm like, Violet, you're smarter than this. Don't be an idiot.
She's book smart. She's becoming...
people smart? Is that what you're going for?
I don't know. She doesn't seem emotionally in tune.
No.
But that's okay. She doesn't need to be because she's developing other skills like her... I don't know really where I'm going with it.
Her strategic mindset is improving with information she's getting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
And like I said, Violet is on the journey now that I enjoy.
Oh, and as a fighter. Think of the amount of time she's in situations where it's many against her and she holds her own long enough until she gets help. Both times. But the fact that she was able to hold her own against so many really shows us her skill level as a fighter.
I would agree. I think Violet is improving, and I love to see that. And this is where, as she moves through this book, she becomes someone who I enjoy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Xaden does too.
I've enjoyed both of them from the beginning.
Dain's on my shit list, and I knew it was coming.
I forgot how much of a dweeb he is.
Oh, yeah. He's a nerd.
Yeah, but almost like a roided up one is how I picture him.
Do you not think dweebs can be buff?
Yeah, no, I know, but it was just I picture him as a roided up meathead and thinks that everyone follows the rules.
He's just a buff Mormon.
Yeah.
That's nothing against the Mormons, but they're generally a good rule-following people.
Yeah, and he's just like in shock. We'll get into it. Let's start with chapter 16.
Let's get into the Mormons.
No.
There's a movie like that, I think, if you go to certain channels. So I was wrong about something.
Oh, no. What were you wrong about?
I don't remember. Oh, okay. So the marked ones?
Yes.
I said 3 is safe, and you said no, 2. You Googled it, and I was wrong. But I would like to point out within these chapters, eventually there's 3 of them working out with her. And she's like, there's only 3 of us. You don't need to be afraid. We're fine with 3 of us. And then she's like, I'm only afraid of you, Imogen.
I don't remember that.
It was when she first went to train with Imogen. And it's Garrick, Imogen, and some other marked one in the gym.
Oh, but I think she points this out. She notices when there's 3 together, and she's like, but I'm not going to worry about that right now.
Well, I thought Imogen said technically we're legal because there's only 3 of us in here.
Dang it.
Okay, I could be wrong. I'm ready to admit I'm wrong again next episode. And I was on this hill about Ridoc being small because he's the same size as Orly, right? So Orly's the one that he's fighting in the beginning.
Okay.
Right? And I'm like, oh, he's a tiny man because he's the size of her. And then it's described as she's a buff lady. And then he's later described as much bigger than Tynyn. She's like a whole half a foot taller than Tynyn and twice as big. And I'm like, what the fuck? Okay. I think that he's just inconsistently described.
I have no idea, but I do know later Liam is bigger than everyone.
He's enormous and he's handsomer. He's a blonde, incredibly handsome, super athletic, tall man.
Yes.
He is what we blonde men wish to be described as all the time. Because Liam Mari is the sweetest, kindest person in these books. I adore him.
I know. Sad things are...
Shut your mouth.
No.
I'm not ready yet. I can't go back.
It's a beautiful day. We're recording outside, traveling for work.
True. Yeah.
These are true things. Traveling
They're
for
all
work.
true. Traveling for work.
Working for family counts.
Oh, yes, it does.
Watching our dog explore the creek here.
He just took a greasy dump just 15 minutes ago, 10 feet from us. He has thousands of acres to go roam. And he got within 10 feet of us and is like, they seem downwind, and dropped one just as we started recording this. And I think some of it got in my mouth.
No.
He's so gross.
He's a happy dog.
He's happy. He's stinky. And we love him.
Do you remember what the last chapters ended on?
No, not even a little.
We ended with Andarna sharing her name, and we find out that there are 2 dragons bonded to Violet.
Oh, the chapters we listened to before.
Yeah.
It's 5.
Yeah.
Yes. She bonds Tarin. She bonds Andarna. They're like, give us those dragon names. And she's like, Tarin and Onyx, blah, 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 blah. And everybody's like, oh. And then while they're still like gasping and shock, she's like, and Andarna. And then, yeah, Violet's like, Tarin, tell her that I'm not doing it. And Tarin's like, do what she tells you to do. She's a dragon. You're a person. Shut the fuck up.
You do as you're told, human.
Yeah, it was pretty rad. And then she's like, my name is Andarna Urim.
You remember the name so well.
I don't. I probably got it wrong. Don't fact check me.
It's close enough.
Yeah, I think if you do the voice, you can just kind of make it up from there. That's what I'm going for. But yeah, she's cool.
She's cute. She's adorable. I love Andarna. Everything about her is just...
What do you think of her voice in the dramatized version? The dramatic reading or whatever they're called. Graphic audio.
I think it was good. It didn't stand out to me. Well, only Tarin's I'm not happy with.
Only Tarin's?
Yeah, Xaden's is fine. It could be... I see where it could be better, but I like all of them for the most part, and just wish that Tarin was switched with Professor Fitzgibbons.
Yeah, Fitzgibbons has Tarin's voice.
Yeah.
He is so cool. And I would like to add, I was shocked by Xaden's voice in it, but I actually think it's better. Because when you're listening to Rebecca Soler read it, you kind of get this impression that he's 35 years old in the way that his voice is kind of, he's got smoker's lung, it's a little too gravelly, it's a little too raspy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say this voice comes off as...
He's a 22-year-old kid.
Yeah, that it is very fitting. And I was already prepared for that voice because it's so similar, if not the same exact person that does it for the audiobook, for the bonus chapter.
Oh, yeah. See, and I don't remember what that chapter was about or listening to that one. But I know initially I was like, well, that's not Xaden's voice. And then I thought about it. I'm like, Xaden's a 22-year-old kid.
Yeah.
That is Xaden's voice.
Yeah.
It's angsty kind of, and it's kind of gruff and tough for a 22-year-old kid. It's not a 40-year-old man who's seen some shit. You know what I mean?
Yes. I think that's really fair.
Like, I'm upset with Tarin's voice because it isn't sexy enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's like hundreds of years old.
Yeah, and
He better have a sexy dragon voice.
I want to hear them saggy Dragon Balls. You know what I mean? Hey, I learned something.
What'd you learn about Dragon Ball?
The show Dragon Balls?
Oh my God, what?
That guy died last year.
Oh,
His name was Akira Toriyama.
I thought we were going into something funny.
You're right. This is a bummer. Oops. Dragon Balls.
In chapter 16, this is starting right after Andarna shares her name. Violet is in shock and she's like, what? Me? She just thought that Andarna's just tagging along for fun.
Again, Violet, you analytical genius.
It's cute, though. I was also just as confused as Violet the first time reading this. I was like, what is Andarna doing here? I thought it was their child.
It was whose child?
Tarin's or Sgaeyl's.
I also thought that the first time we were going through this, where I'm like, oh, it's his baby. So
yeah.
He's just being sweet to her.
Yeah.
But then when they became conjoined, no, what do they call that?
Not conjoined.
They're mentally conjoined. What's it called again? When you're mind linked with Ryder and the dragon? Bonded.
Yeah.
Bonded. Like our cats.
Our bonded cats.
Our bonded pair at home.
They fucking hate each other. We have an upstairs cat and a downstairs cat. And a garage cat right now.
Yeah, we could use fewer cats.
To explain the garage cat, there's a stray cat that got pregnant that we've been feeding all summer. Turns out it's not a neutered male.
Like we were told.
Yep. Now she has her babies in our garage. So we have 7 cats right now.
I am so allergic to the cats.
Anyways, they don't know how dragons govern themselves. There is a theory out there that Violet is destined, or Violet is going to be the one that governs the dragons.
Oh, I don't like that.
I don't think it's correct, but I found it really interesting. And when this excerpt was read, it played into why that theory is there.
The wisdom of hundreds of years, and what we really need is a savior, a white girl from upper management in Sgaeyl to come through and tell us dragons how to live. I don't think I would enjoy that.
I don't think it's correct. But did you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's less so about it's this big mysterious thing among the Empyrean. I think it's more like the dragons don't know why the humans would need to know that. They seem very much, everything is given to the humans on a need-to-know basis.
Yes.
Which I think is the right approach.
Yeah, it's none of the humans' business. And they view the humans so puny, they're just like, why bother?
Even if you just look at them as outside of their circle, it kind of makes sense. You know what I mean? It would be like talking with strangers about why you made decisions that you made. Like, there's no point in that.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just surprised that there is no information on it in the last 600 years. It's also here that I found out that their almost governing body for the dragons is called the Empyrean or something like that. Mm-hmm. What is the Empyrean?
That is the dragons. Okay. The dragon government is called the Empyrean, which is, as I'm aware, the elders from each of the colors or the tribes, basically, of dragons.
Oh, okay. Okay. So in chapter 16, we learn that Jack bonded on his way fleeing from Tarin. Or I don't think Tarin was there. Jack just started fleeing away because he was injured, something bleeding. Don't know. But he bonded on his way out. Initially, when I took that note, I took it as that's pretty weak of him to be running away and still bonding and says something about his dragon. But I later see that it's more in reflection of he is such a strong individual that he found a very weak dragon to bond with him.
Yeah, and we're told that his dragon has bonded 5 other riders that they're aware of.
Yeah.
So it's not a very choosy dragon. Or its riders don't live very long.
Yeah, that, and there's also a statement of with each new bond a dragon has with the new rider, it's even stronger. And I think that was to reflect how much stronger Tarin's bond is going to be with Violet than with his previous rider. But it doesn't make sense with
Jack's dragon.
Yeah, with his dragon and how close they are to each other.
Maybe it's a one-sided bond. Maybe the dragon is like really attached to Jack. But clearly Jack's not all that in love with his dragon.
I don't know.
And it's an orange scorpion tail.
Named Baide.
Baide.
Or Bide.
No, you're right.
Baide. Tynyn is brought up when Violet is talking with her friends. And she says something about how that he didn't make it. And I have a quote from Tarin. I could just quote Tarin in all of my notes and be happy and content. I just want to write every single
all the
thing.
Important things. Everything Tarin says seems important.
Yeah, I just want to quote him every single time. And he says, not your kill to take credit for.
Yeah, because it was his kill. And he was like, bitch, please, you didn't do this. I did this.
It wasn't with that attitude.
But it would be funny if it comes up twice, right? It comes up when she's discussing things with, I don't think it's Kaori. It might be.
I thought it was with Amber, and she's feeling guilty over Amber being killed for what happened to Violet. And she's feeling bad, and Tarin was just like, no.
Oh, that comes up later too, but I think when she brings up Tynyn, initially, when she bonds Tarin, and they're like in the wings, and she's getting wrapped up, right? The guys... She's like, who else made it from my squad? And he's like, well, we haven't seen, I can't remember her name, Trinity or something like that.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen Tynyn. And she's like, don't wait up for Tynyn. He's like, okay, all right. And that's when Tarin's like, not your kill to take credit for. Don't act like you did this. Yeah. Which I know is not really what he's getting at, but it would be funny if it were. And then it comes up again when you kind of feel bad for Jack a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Because later we learn that Jack is being secluded by everyone.
Ostracized.
Yeah.
I'd say. Yeah.
And I thought it was because of him and Violet, what happened between them, but I actually think that it had more to do with how small his dragon is.
Yeah. There's a dick joke in there.
Oh, is there? Or did you think of one?
Well, he's got little dragon energy.
Oh my God.
You know?
Yeah.
People aren't impressed with his tiny little dragon. He's been out here compensating this whole time, acting like he's got a massive dragon.
Then leadership thinks they have a say. The human leadership think they have a say in whether or not Violet can have 2 dragons. And that gets called out, but really it's up to the empyrean leadership.
Yeah, Tarin's like, she's like, well, I don't know if they're going to let me keep it. And Tarin's like, it's not up to them. He's like, humans don't make that decision. We make that decision. And then they get to act like, well, don't worry, we agree with them, so everything's fine. They get kind of like a step-parent energy, you know, where like the main parent is the empyrean and they actually make the decision. And then when you get a new step-parent, they're like trying to also be a part of that authority, you know, the authoritative body that is parents, but they're not really able to make decisions. So they're just like, yeah.
Exactly.
You know, I'm glad we came to this decision. Oh, that's the feeling I got from it.
While the Empyrean is off making their decision and talking and whatnot, Tarin tells her, stay close to the wing leader.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, he misspoke.
He
means Dain. Why? Why would he ever mean Dain?
Whoever means Dain.
Dain is never the subject of anybody's conversation.
Then everyone is arriving. Ridoc gives a huge hug. And it just made me happy. Just so happy. This moment where everyone is hugging each other and just big hugs all around. Ridoc is hilarious and amazing.
I would say Ridoc adds fun to this book. And I like Ridoc and Liam probably the most. And then the scribe girl. Jacinia, Liam, and Ridoc are the best characters in this book. And Tarin. Tarin's the best.
Dain shows up. So she doesn't go to the wing leader. Dain comes by and he's like being like, what's going on? Oh my God. I think do they kiss in this moment?
Shortly thereafter.
Yeah. There's somewhere in here. There's, I think, a kiss in here.
Also sad.
And, oh yeah, because they're holding hands. Says she must choose between Andarna and Tarin. And that she must choose Andarna because Tarin is mated to Sgaeyl. And the audacity.
Well, hold on. There was a 2-pronged thing with this. Also, Tarin is the combat dragon. Like, Coda's the biggest dragon, right? Blah, blah, blah. But Tarin is famous, even among all the other dragons, as being the Billy Badass Warrior Rambo dragon, right? So he's John Wayne. And he's like, you're definitely going to be in battle if you're with John Wayne Dragon over here. Like, they're not going to let you just chill in Sgaeyl. If you take this little dragon that is useless,
maybe you could be a teacher.
They're like, they will definitely let you hang out here because they're not putting her in battle. All right, not to worry. And also, he sees it as an issue with Sgaeyl and Tarin.
Just, that's where the audacity comes in.
I agree. I think Dain sucks in this. Again, I only defended Dain for the first part of this book because we kind of dislike Dain because of the way the Violet is absurd in the first part. And then we get to the point where we dislike Dain because he's annoying. And then we get to the point where we dislike Dain like now, where he's actively obstructing her path forward.
You pointed out one time that him having these thoughts and feelings are valid in the beginning, but him continuously pushing and pushing and pushing is the boundary crossing.
Yes. And then it turns into this, where it's way beyond that.
Yeah, and it gets worse in this scene. I didn't catch this initially because Violet doesn't pay that close attention. She notices this, which is as he is telling her, you need to choose Andarna, and they're having this talk, and he is getting scared for her. He has his hands around her waist or around her body, and he's squeezing so tight that she said if it wasn't for her the dragon scales, she would have bruises on her.
How are her dragon scales preventing bruising, I might add?
They are incredibly resilient. They block knife attacks.
Puncture wounds. Yeah, I can understand how you would prevent punctures with something that's very hard but small and movable. But if they're stiff enough to prevent bruising, do you see what I mean? Like, those are different types of defense.
Well, she can feel the pressure.
Yeah, no, and she should definitely be able to feel it. But that's kind of what I'm saying, I guess, is the bruising is just a result of pressure, right? Bursting blood vessels and whatnot. I can't imagine this is actually preventing much for bruising. In the same way that, like, my gloves don't prevent bruising of my hands.
I think you're taking it just a little too far. I think that she'll get bruises. Like, if she gets hit really hard, I think she was just saying, if it weren't for that, though how tight he was squeezing, there would be bruises. He's not, like, if she were to be hit really hard, she'll get bruising through this.
Right. No, and I know because she does get bruised when people attempt to stab her or when they kick her or those things. She gets bruised and beaten. I think I was just misunderstanding the way the armor would work, because I'm seeing it more as the use case of chainmail, where it's preventing things from stabbing instead of Kevlar.
Oh, yeah. I pictured it more Kevlar-like.
And that's where it wouldn't be good for things like stabbing, right? Because sharp objects penetrate Kevlar because it's a weave.
I think this is getting pedantic, and you need to accept my hot
It's magic armor, you're right.
My hot take was that he was being an asshole, squeezed her so hard he would have left bruises on her.
And I'm focused on the armor.
And you're focused
right.
on that.
You're right.
It's like, no, he's being a twat.
Hey, listen, you're correct. I was focused on the wrong details here. Dain was being a twat waffle.
And she just kind of ignores it. It was just enough that she says it. She tells us. And I'm like, that's so abusive. It's so far over this line at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That she obviously isn't interested in him anymore because of this behavior. But I don't know.
She remains interested in him through that behavior enough to where she's ready for this kiss. It finally happens, but there's no spark.
Yeah, is the kiss after the squeezy?
Yeah.
No.
After the kiss, they part ways.
Well.
And it's an awkward, like, oopsies.
Xaden then walks up.
And he goes down on her right there.
She wishes. She was so thirsty. And she's just, I think this was a moment where she really switched and is more accepting of she's crushing on Xaden.
How much of that has to do with she's developed a bond with a dragon who has a very sexual relationship with his dragon. And now there's some secondary sexualness going on.
Ooh, already.
Here's my question. What if you have two dragons, right, that are paired together? A bonded pair, whatever they're called.
And they both choose
pair.
you?
No. And they choose two men. We don't ever hear about that. What if, oh man, our dragons are getting horny and there's two dudes who previously were very straight. Now they're like, I don't know, there's something about this guy. Like, can you imagine? Wouldn't that be cool?
I wasn't taking it as, with them being bonded, Tarin and Sgaeyl, it ramps up their horniness because when Tarin's horny, Violet's horny. And this just is so weird. This is definitely a weird part of the book. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
I like this book.
Okay. No, I like the book.
This doesn't bother me in the book, but if I was telling outsiders, it's definitely a weird thing to say out loud.
Well, like, imagine your dragon's getting it on it. You're just petting a dog.
Stop.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
but
it has to be directed at somebody.
She's just attracted to Xaden. I don't think her attraction to Xaden is necessarily because Tarin and Sgaeyl are bonded initially. I think that if she was crushing on Dain when she first bonded with Tarin, and Tarin and Sgaeyl are off doing their business, and Violet is getting those secondary feelings, she would have gone after Dain. In my opinion, based off of my understanding of how this works.
How dragon horniness works. Secondhand horny.
Yeah.
Okay.
If she was still going after Dain, she would have felt those feelings towards Dain.
Here's the thing. I do agree with you. Her attraction to Xaden is not primarily due to the bond.
As far as we know.
Well, she has it, though, immediately. The first time she sees him, he's the most gorgeous man she's ever seen, and then she learns he potentially wants to murder her, and she's still fighting those urges constantly.
Oh, I guess why I'm being very particular with my words is because I don't know if they're fated mates yet, if it's that type of story.
I don't know what the fuck you just said.
Fated mate.
Oh, I thought you said faded, like they drank too much wine. They're getting faded, you know?
No, I don't know yet because we're only in book 2. If we find out later, that they're actually were meant for each other. I don't know yet. I don't think that's a thing. That's not a known thing to the best of our knowledge.
You made this up.
Yeah, I'm just holding out on maybe they're fated for each other.
Okay. All right.
I could improve my terminology.
Nope.
But everyone's understanding to the best of my knowledge.
I love that you're like, everybody understands. One person is listening to you and didn't understand. The rest of them are going to hear it and understand.
They all know.
They know. You, audience, you know what she means. Okay? No, I would agree. I think that would be really nifty. And I think that she's clearly attracted to him, right? All I'm saying is the ancillary horniness must have to do with, I guess I took it as both of them got it kind of for each other because they're bond with their dragons in the same way that he can hear Tarin speak, right?
Yes.
Like, I think the bond exchanges so many things that I assumed that was kind of one
I
of them.
think you're right. You're right, especially given maybe it's just too many things all at once. Dain being an even bigger twat than he was before at the same exact time that Xaden shows up, that she is now bonded to Tarin. Tarin is now smooching with Sgaeyl in this moment because what's Tarin and Sgaeyl doing?
You think they're smooching?
Yeah, I think
just out there in the field?
Waiting for the Empyrean to make their choice.
What's Andarna doing? Just watching?
She's swishing her tail looking at the drama of Violet, Dain, and Xaden going on.
Do you think she gets a seat at the table? Because she's the only one of her little group?
So. I bet so. I bet she will.
And Sgaeyl must also get a seat because Sgaeyl is the most powerful blue dragon.
But I don't think she's the leader of her den.
You don't think so?
I don't.
I think she must be. She's by far the most powerful and beast one there.
We get the details later.
And also, we see Coda in this. In the way she describes Melgren looking at Tarin. She's like his beady little eyes. And I'm like, oh, she doesn't like him at all. I mean, we don't either, but I like the way his eyes were described. Because everybody else's eyes are described by these vivid colors and all this extra shit going on. Xaden's got glitter in his eyes, doesn't blink. And they grow blacker and blacker every time she looks. And then Melgren, his beady little eyes. You're like, whoa. Okay.
I don't remember this.
Yeah, she's like, get your beady little eyes off my dragon, you fuck. That's not what she says, but it's kind of what she's getting at.
In this moment, they are still kind of talking, the three of them. Dain's jaw flex. I love just catching the little jaw flex comments because I don't know if I would ever catch these things if someone's flexing their jaw. It would almost look like someone's just swallowing. And she remembers that Xaden took a step for her. And she's falling for him. She's falling for him hard. And everything's coming together. And she's falling out of love. The cadets are going to assassinate her for Tarin.
You're going to assassinate her.
Assassinate her for Tarin. Do you remember how many cadets are unbonded?
31.
41.
Shit.
At some point, they separate? I don't even know.
Who?
Oh, Xaden. They're all like in formation or whatever. And her scalp prickles again, and Xaden gestures to her. This is a moment when it's almost like he can signal to her to get her to turn and look at him. Because he gives her a gesture about the cadets and be on the lookout for people who are going to be after her. But it's like he knows now that he can make her look at him.
What if Violet's second signet is signet awareness? Like when other people she's being targeted by a signet, she has an awareness of that. What if that's her second signet, where it's just like, oh, well, no, because she had this long beforehand. In the very beginning of the first book. It's like, my scalp prickled.
Yeah, I'm still standing with her second signet has to do with a similar ability to what Andarna was giving her with the time stopping.
Yeah.
I'm holding on to it because it's been a sign of something that she needs. She can just jump from one spot to another. There's a term for it. We learn about it later. Right around the time that we learn about Xaden's second signet is around the time we learn about this other signet that hasn't been around for 100 years.
I don't even remember what we're talking. Is that the signet you're talking about?
Yeah. The
ability to bend space-time?
The ability, it's like...
And she uses it to jog 5 miles an hour faster?
It has the word walker in it, and I remember thinking streetwalker.
No, that's probably not.
I know.
That could be her signet.
I remember in the moment kind of giggling to myself because it sounded like streetwalker.
I thought it was Nightwalker or Shadow Walker.
She's essentially teleporting from one location because you and me, when we first listened to it, we were kind of talking about, does that rider just ditch their dragon back at the other location, or can you bring some people with you and bring your dragon with you as you teleport?
So she is Walker, Texas Ranger.
And when we learn about that signet later, it's around the time that we learn about Xaden's second one, right before that, and it has been 100 years, so that gives off it's gonna be Violet vibes to me.
Yeah, because the privileged girl in this story just gets more privilege. Like, she's ill, and other than that, she gets every other privilege. I want to hear a story about the poor, ill person who doesn't bond a very strong dragon, never becomes super powerful, but still does a great job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think that would be a very compelling story for me.
That would be so cool.
Or it would just be like, oh, she's actually just an average-looking person. Well, yeah, but why does everybody fall in love with her? They don't. It's just like regular people, like a regular person. She's got one person who's in love with her. Maybe even a second person has a crush on her because she has a great personality. But she's not like, you know, written in the stars to be something incredible. I think that would be so cool. But I think this is a good story.
I was going to say, that doesn't make for a fun book.
It could. Imagine the things she would get through nothing but her own ingenuity and, you know, like others helping her to achieve goals that would otherwise not be possible, instead of her gaining enough power to just kind of achieve those goals herself.
You are ridiculous.
Oh, okay. You're right. I'm ridiculous.
Next topic.
Sorry. Back to the magic dragon lady written in the stars.
What'd you think of her relic on her back?
I don't remember what it was. I know that she saw it through Andarna's eyes.
She did. What I got from the description is it's almost like a silhouette of Tarin and a gold outline of Andarna.
And
does the Andarna relic grow as she does, or does it always memorialize her as a baby? As Andarna grows, does the relic change with Andarna?
Yeah, because it's a magic tattoo, which I'm noticing a trend in these books.
Well, the tattoo currently shows her as a little baby golden dragon on her.
And it's just outlined.
Yeah.
Right? Wouldn't it be cool if there was like a different one for every stage of Andarna's growth?
That would be cute.
Like she becomes iridescent and there's just like this iridescent, like slightly larger dragon just mowing on a sheep.
No.
Well, that becomes her big personality thing.
Yeah, it is. At the end of chapter 16, Violet and Dain kiss. This is that moment. It's awkward. We've already talked about that.
Sucks.
What I wanted to ask you about, can everyone hear her thoughts in this moment? Can Xaden, Andarna, Sgaeyl, and Tarin all hear her right now?
Yeah, I think so. Because she's bonded to him. Tarin can definitely hear her. She cannot shut Tarin off.
No, I know that Tarin and Andarna for sure can.
I believe Xaden can as well. And Sgaeyl.
The part that I wanted to know is, can Xaden hear all of this more officially at this point? Because I can't remember when that happens between them.
Well, you're right. I don't think they open that pathway yet. I think the dragons kind of act as a conduit for that pathway.
But as of right now, it's just Violet to Sgaeyl only.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, that's not too bad. So Xaden, I don't think, can hear her thoughts about Dain.
Dumb question. Xaden being able to hear Tarin, if it has nothing to do with Violet, could he already talk to Tarin before? Like when Tarin was en route to save Andarna, right? Could Xaden have been talking to Tarin already and that's like he books it? Sgaeyl wasn't like, don't worry, Tarin's on his way. Tarin's like, hey, wing leader, get the fuck out of there. I'm coming in hot.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, that's cool.
Based off of the information that we currently have.
I'll take it.
Chapter 17 is when we get the excerpt. More powerful the dragon, the more powerful the rider. But be wary of a strong rider who bonds a smaller dragon. This is information that I obviously didn't catch the first time around, because why would I? And it's about Barlow and his orange dragon.
Baide.
The signs were there.
Yeah. Besides the fact that he just kind of kept murdering people. I mean, the sign, it wasn't a secret bad guy situation.
But the sign that it was a bad situation of him being with a smaller dragon, though.
He was more powerful mentally than the dragon was.
Yeah.
Right.
I was shocked. Sawyer and Rhiannon slept together. That, I don't remember any of this. And it just makes me love Rhiannon more because she just gets what she wants and she does what she wants.
I like Rhiannon in this story. I think in real life, a person that just does whatever they want all the time isn't fun. I think this is a good fantasy character.
Oh, I guess I just saw it as more of her personality of she is living in the moment as she should be, I guess. Like they tell us for first years, yeah, you should be sleeping around. This is all good. You don't know if you're going to live. And we have someone that is actually doing that, and I like that. And then Violet's just like, I need to get laid.
But not by anybody other than the wing leader, who I refuse to acknowledge as the person whom I want. Currently, still. Yeah, no, I like Rhi. I think she's an awesome character. Again, I think the cool thing about this book is these characters exist in a way that in real life would be so off-putting. And I have to keep in my head that, like, no, for the sake of the story, are they fun? Yes. But we all know the people that are, like, living for the now and this and that. We haven't enjoyed those people in real life because those people are self-serving, generally. Rhi is this great mixture of, like, supportive for Violet and self-serving in this very specific way.
But we also don't live in a world where every day you can die.
We do.
Well, okay.
Look at school shootings.
Oh,
Hello.
Stop.
Just saying.
No.
We do. It's just as dangerous out here in these streets. Sorry.
I'm just chugging forward.
I can tell.
In this chapter is when Barlow is being excluded, and it was nice to know that I wasn't the only one who kind of felt bad for him, but it's almost developing his villain arc.
He's been a villain the whole time. They're not developing it further. He just remains a villain. He started off with "you're next." The first thing he said to Violet was "you're next, Sgaeyl," after he tossed somebody off parapet. And he has continuously kept that energy through the entire thing. I agree with you. It was nice because I felt weird for feeling bad.
I did too.
I was like, we shouldn't feel bad for him. But then I'm like, but just seeing a person treated that way is a shitty thing.
Yeah.
We don't wish that on anybody, even the people who are murderous dickheads. And knowing what we later know.
Because we've been plotting his murder this entire time. And then this one moment, we're like, aw, poor Barlow.
Well, I think it's actually a kindness to have murdered him before it got to this point.
Yeah.
His life is worse for having lived.
No.
Don't you think?
It does.
It's all downhill.
It does get much worse from here.
That's what I'm saying. It's all downhill for Jack. Jack really needed to have been murdered. When she had the knife at his ballsack, she could have potentially neutered the idiocy out of him. That was probably the biggest mistake so far in this Empyrean series. Is Violet should have just went with, I should cut off his nuts. And she should have. If she didn't murder him, just cut off his nuts.
End scene.
Well, yeah. She's like, well, I could cut off his nuts, but that wouldn't kill him. I promise you, if you chop off his nuts, he's not coming at you immediately. He's got other shit going on. Nobody's nuts get cut off and they're like, let me fight this person before I address the...
I disagree. I agree with Violet in this moment of you don't injure him. You don't piss him off. You either kill him or you leave him. If
she said she couldn't kill him.
Exactly. Therefore, you leave him alone.
If you cut off his nuts, you can kill him immediately afterward.
But she wasn't willing to kill him.
Well, yet.
So then all that would come of that is he would kill her.
Or would he? The amount of testosterone his body would stop producing, the aggression's coming right out of that guy.
You were so pedantic.
I'm just saying, he won't be so aggressive.
You were thinking of his T levels?
Well, I think that's kind of what causes part of this, is I think he's just overloaded with testosterone. Look at him. He's boisterous. He's always trying to prove that he's the big daddy of them all.
That's all
and
being
he's
a Venom.
Hyper violent.
That's all being a Venom is. It's just teeth.
Maybe they need to start giving these boys some estrogen. Not a lot, just a little to help balance them out. They're losing their goddamn minds.
Imogen shows up to the table, and I love her attitude. She is so bitchy in an attractive way. Mm-hmm. The way she's described, and Violet is so jealous of her, and I'm just like, yeah, you probably should be. Yeah. She sounds hot.
Yeah, she's the second hottest chick in this series.
Her hair reminds me of Wreck-It Ralph, the one character. What's her name? I can't think of it.
The alien fighter.
Yeah, her.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You already told me that you couldn't use that lady on a Hear Me Out cake because, it's too obvious. Oh.
Yeah, that's an attractive cartoon woman.
All right. That's all I had for it.
So Imogen is going to train Violet. Ridoc is worried for Violet. I think he's really starting to realize the gravity of the situation of her and Xaden, their dragons being bonded, and her going to be assassinated.
No, assassinated. Stop saying assassin.
Assassinated.
Assassin. Oh, I think you're right. And I'd like to take just a moment real quick here and apologize for my pedantic nature.
No, I think it's fun. And it really takes away from the book so we can get an outside look.
Outside the book. Boy, people are really tuning in. The backdrop of the book is just a way for me to talk about shit that I like to talk about.
You like to talk about...
Armor.
Yes, actually, that does sound...
And science. And weirdly, where science fiction gets things goofy.
On a for real note, though, I do like when you bring in real science with science fiction and how it kind of...
Either works or doesn't.
Yeah,
okay.
It's fun. It's entertaining.
All right.
I like it.
I'm glad. I thought you were not enjoying it, and I was like, I should apologize because I'm enjoying this book a lot. And it can sometimes come off like I'm being so critical that I don't like it. And I like it so much that I feel comfortable being critical of it.
You're this far in, you're considered a fanboy.
I have probably listened to more hours of this book than most people.
I fully believe that.
Because I have listened to these chapters 5 or 6 times. Imogen training her, I think Ridoc's concern for her makes me adore Ridoc as a character even more.
Yeah.
He is really the unsung. If she would have been attracted to Ridoc at some point in this, I'd have been like, yeah, that makes sense. Because he is shown to be so caring and supportive of Rhiannon, Violet, Sawyer. He is supportive of everybody. And even when Liam is constantly in her zone, Ridoc just kind of like brings him into the group.
Ridoc seems like he wakes up every day with a smile on his face. Like, I did it. I made another day. Let's have a good one.
I think Ridoc wakes up, looks in the mirror and says, we're going to fuck with everybody today, and grins to himself and goes with it. Like, Ridoc might be my spirit animal. I love that guy.
Yeah. Every time he says something, it makes me think of you and the energy that you bring into a room.
Oh, wow. That's incredibly sweet. I wasn't ready for that. Thank you. I take that as the compliment it is.
Good. In this moment, so they're all at the table. She's learning that she's going to train with Imogen. And Violet sees Xaden across the room because I think they're all eating or something like this. And she is so freaking thirsty for him. So much more than she has been this entire book. Just, she could be drooling at the mouth and that would fit in this moment of someone just like dabbing her face with a napkin. Be like, Violet, are you with us? That is how thirsty she is for Xaden. Xaden turns and looks at her. Then he's
got a bit of a boner. He's just chubbed up.
But he turns and looks at her. That's when she gets this full scalp head prickle when he looks at her. It's almost like she did something to him that he knew what was happening and that he should turn and look at her. And the intensity of that feeling across her head was greater than any other time. And it's always been head prickle first, turns, Xaden's already looking at her. This time, she almost like got Xaden to look at her.
That's a fair point. And maybe there is something to do with their dragon's bond that kind of allowed an exchange of sorts. I don't remember how it works in this book. I seem to remember they put up walls.
They do, also. But I don't remember how those two begin to communicate with each other. But this moment stood out to me because it's always been spidey sense, turn, look. Xaden's already looking at her. So I took it as Xaden is reading her using his intrinsic power, and she's picking up on that, hence why she turns and looks.
He's not looking at her initially, right? She gets spidey senses.
Yeah.
Right?
No, he turns and looks at her, then she gets the spidey senses. The whole time she's thirsty as hell.
I thought she had the spidey senses. No, it doesn't matter. Either way, so she's having those thoughts. She gets the spidey senses, and then he looks at her. I think occasionally he's going to look at her, just every time.
That's true.
Because he does just tend to look at people.
But it was odd the intensity in which this happened with. Like, I think...
Well, he picked up on a hint of it, and then he just wanted to keep listening. He wanted to know more of her intentions. He went
Tell me more about what you want to do to me.
Yeah, he went deeper into her intention logic.
Oh, so the intensity of the head prickle this time does line up with what you said. She's now bonded to Tarin, and it is heightened, where she can probably read when he's reading her.
There we go.
I'll
take it.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So then they go into flight training. Everything you can do, I can do better is the definition of Tarin.
Yeah, and here's my question. This is my only gripe with Tarin. Why does he need to prove that? Everybody knows it. Everybody knows you're the biggest, baddest, most famous war dragon to have ever lived. Well, who are you showing off for?
I think he does it for his own fun. Like, he enjoys the attention.
Xaden.
I was going to say, when you pointed out how similar he is to Xaden, this is, I think, one of those moments. He even said the only reason he went second was because so-and-so is training. Otherwise, he would have been first.
Yes, that's fair. All right, I get it. I adore Tarin. Everything Tarin does is cool. Like, also a part of me is like unnecessary, but cool.
You're just, I love Tarin. That's all I can say.
No, I'm with you. He needs a better voice in the dramatized version or whatever, but that's it.
Then there's awkwardness with Dain. Dain wants to tell Tarin to take it easy on her, and the audacity again.
It doesn't make sense because Dain has a dragon. Dain knows how dragons work.
And he's like, but you should tell him to do X, Y, Z. It's just, okay.
If I'm Violet, I'm like, oh, maybe your little baby dragon lets you tell him what to do. My dragon has a mind of his own and does what he wants.
Yeah.
Because he's the biggest, baddest fucking dragon. And then I would have just left it at that.
This is also when Dain is telling her this kiss shouldn't have happened. And I forgot all about this moment. And
I did too. It's really inconsequential later on.
Yeah, and it's just so cringy. Just, Dain, come on.
He makes it all about himself.
He does. He didn't even consider that Violet could have feelings different than his own. Like, he's just like, obviously you like me. I am me, but I have to follow the rules.
Well, he's like, I intend on being a wing leader next year. So you can't really get in the way of that. And I'm like, so you keep bringing up that she's the most important thing to you, but not more important than you becoming a wing leader or you following rules or this and that. And he's like, Violet, the questions Xaden was asking the other day are ridiculous. You know I would have stepped in, but I can't say that in front of him. It's like, well, how would she know that? You've done nothing but show that you would actually just follow the rules.
Chapter 18, the excerpt is even temples can be rebuilt, but books cannot be rewritten. Again, we're obviously seeing the groundwork being laid out, that books are being rewritten. We don't know which ones yet. I think in this chapter, it's about the fables and how it can't be found. That is not saying that it's been rewritten, that it's just been gone, but there, in my opinion, are books out there that have been completely rewritten.
Well, because it specifically says, in some of the excerpts are taken from the unaltered versions of this or that, which must mean that there are altered versions of this or that.
Yes.
Because otherwise it's not a necessary statement to qualify.
Or they'll say unedited excerpt or the edited, the second edition and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think the way that that's worded is just kind of ridiculous. Where it's like, books can never be rewritten. It's like, no, that's literally what a second edition of a book is. Like, it is a rewritten version of the exact same book. Books can definitely be rewritten. Histories are rewritten every time they're told. There is absolutely no permanence to information in its consistent form.
I took it as they can't be replaced. The originals are the originals. You can't re-original a book.
No, I would agree with you can't re-original a book, but they also say first-hand accounts are the most trustworthy sources of information, right?
Oh my God, this book isn't a first-hand account even.
Correct. It is the following texts have been faithfully transcribed by Josinia Nilworth, chief scribe, blah, 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 or whatever. At Best Guy at War College. That's kind of what I'm getting at is it is a statement that is disproven by its very existence in this book.
Maybe that's the point.
No, that's what I'm saying. I would
Yeah,
agree. I think that is the point. I think it's kind of a recursive logic that just doesn't work.
We get to meet Justinia, though.
We do. She's
And
deaf for some reason.
she is, but their formalities in the scribe's quadrant?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's very unusual, very detached, very formal. No smiling, no hugging, no excitement, all in order to show your dedication to the books.
I agree. I have one more pedantic thing to point out here just for a second.
Yeah.
What are the quadrants? Because I can count 3, and that would mean that there aren't quadrants.
I don't know. I don't even know if I used quadrant correctly.
No, you did. You did. You're right. It's a scribe's quadrant is how it's described. But quadrant implies that there are 4 groups of things as opposed to 3, right? Infantry, scribes, and riders.
What's the...
Oh, the healers.
Yep.
There are 4. There are quadrants.
Good job.
Well, I picked a fight that I wasn't going to win, so it's better that I destroyed it myself. Okay. Yeah. What did you think of the idea of why they wear the white robes and stuff?
I don't know. I thought it was a way of telling us what they looked like, because later Violet uses one of their bags, and that was the clue as to why Violet gets caught.
Oh, I meant so when
As in,
Professor Markham, I think, is the scribe guy, right?
I think so.
He's escorting around the new scribe cadets, and he's like, Violet, are you being helped? And he's like, Violet Sgaeyl was going to be my star pupil, and now she's a rider who bonded 2 dragons, one of which is the most powerful ever, and the other one's fuzzy. And then he's like, Violet, would you mind sharing some information with this dipshit who doesn't understand why it's so stuffy in here? And she's like, less oxygen, less fire. And we're like, okay, all right, we'll go with this. I mean, thermite's not a thing for them. I understand.
I think
phosphorus burns underwater too.
I thought the first time we read this book, you really liked that detail.
I do love that detail.
Oh.
Does it seem like I don't like it?
Yeah, in the moment, I thought you were arguing against that detail.
Absolutely not. They have not led us to believe that there would be a lot of spontaneous combustion via things that don't require oxygen to burn.
I'm surprised that you would let a newly bonded rider into that location when you don't know what their signet's going to be and how they spontaneously happen. What if she got some type of fire?
It's
power?
A common one at that.
Yeah, she shouldn't be allowed in there.
No, she shouldn't be. But anyway, Violet's explaining it, right? She's like, less chance of fire. And he's like, well, what about these shitty uniforms? And she's like, it's so you're blending in with the books.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
What? Yeah. Why are white robes helping you blend in any better than any other color of robe? Are all the books just parchment-faced?
I think it was to be as bland and neutral as possible because it shows more dedication towards the books and your whatnot.
Kind of friar logic.
I guess I put it with religion, where you dress very, very modestly and very hide yourself almost.
But it kind of makes it sexy by very nature. Like, nun outfits are only sexy because they're not supposed to be. You're like, I have to use my imagination for everything but her eyebrows. Like,
I think it was just intended to be bland. You show your dedication by
being bland.
Yeah, putting that, I can't think of the word. What's it called when you're full of yourself, of your looks?
Ego?
Yeah, you put your ego away for these books and texts.
Okay, I guess I just didn't understand why your clothes made such a big difference in that statement. Like, it wouldn't need to have been cream-colored clothing, right? It could have been brown. It could have been blue, yellow. I don't think you're going to be out there showboating as a scribe just because your uniforms... Like, if all your uniforms were a color that made you easy to see as well. Like, imagine you're looking for a book in the library and you can't find a scribe anywhere just because they're all hidden. You know what I mean? It's like they're wearing their book ghillie suit, you know? Oh, why do they wear book ghillie suits? Well, because they're showing how important the books are. Like, what are we doing? No. Get out of here with this.
This is such an odd thing to just be caught up on, but it's funny.
I was a little bummed out. And Justinia is not white-haired the way that I had her in my brain. I had her looking like Luna in the Harry Potter books in my head.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't remember the description of Justinia.
I just remember her saying her dark brown hair or something or another. And I'm like, oh, well, that's not Luna Lovegood. Who is this? And also, I love that Luna Lovegood was the name in Harry Potter.
Don't remember that character very well.
Mm-hmm.
So Violet is on archives duty. She's getting the papers from the scribes and she's bringing back things to return. That's essentially her duty. It's just back and forth every day. Every morning she's getting the stuff. And she wants to read about what happens when humans defile the power channeled to them by getting a copy of the fables. Interesting that she would like this information.
She's not looking at it for informational purposes.
Yeah, like for comfort.
Well, I think it was just for something fun to read.
Yeah. And she says the fables were about the dangers of bonding dragons, but she has never read a single thing about a rider losing their soul to the powers in 600 years of the reunification. That was really interesting, that she points out that the fables, for how old they are incredibly old, but that they are more about don't bond dragons, but we've been doing this for 600 years. And what was Andarna's purpose 600 years ago? What happened?
So I took this all so differently than you did. I didn't take it as a don't bond dragons. I took it as a cautionary tale of when you're bonded to your dragon, don't overdo it. Don't crave power. Like, accept the power you're given.
Yes.
That's what.
But there are no records of people overusing this power, so they've withheld this information.
Well, correct. It turns out they have, but it was written more as a cautionary tale, not in the way that Violet is perceiving it.
Mm-hmm.
It's written as a cautionary tale, not as a warning.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say with that?
Yeah, I do. Andarna hears her being sad in there, and this, again, I replayed it so many times. You were probably getting annoyed by the amount of times that I kept replaying this because it stood out to me. Andarna says, it's hard to love a second home as much as the first. My question is, where were you, Andarna? Where is your first home? Is this your second home? Were you moved as a little egg from one location to another? And I think there is something about that. I think she does get moved.
Mm-hmm. When the Vale. When they get moved to the Vale, when they separate out where the griffins are and the dragons are. And I think you're right. I believe she was moved.
Okay. Because, yeah, I was like, why do you have that? How can you relate, Andarna? Tell us more.
Well, her home was an egg. And now it's not. She's been 2 years in this new home called the world.
Tarin keeps calling her Silver One. And this is, I could just quote Tarin all day. So there's going to be so many of these. She asks Tarin to call her something else. And he offers to call her Violence, like the wing leader.
She basically says, shut the fuck up.
And she says to Tarin that he knows that Xaden annoys her. And he says, oh, is that what your increased heart rate is for? She's like, stop. Just the banter.
It is
so
really
cute.
Funny. Yeah, like I said, I enjoy Tarin so much. Tarin can do no wrong.
So they go back. They're in this big open area ready for formation. And one of the cadets is intrinsic. And he's reading out everyone's thoughts. He reads out Dain's, who's obviously thinking about Violet. Nothing really interesting. And I believe he turns to Ridoc. He turns to one of the marked ones. And it's like they're about to expose something. And Xaden takes him afterwards, after this cadet is killed by Professor
Carr.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and somebody yells. He's an intrinsic. And then Xaden gives Violet advice immediately, which you would think, oh, it's to protect Violet. Really, I think it's to protect Xaden's secrets.
Yeah, I agree.
That are in Violet's head, where he's like, start doing your study bullshit. He's like, keep your thoughts on that, blah, blah, blah. Xaden's understanding of how to prevent your thoughts being exposed really points heavily to him already being an intrinsic.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's another sign. Oh, it was Garrick. He starts on Garrick's thoughts. Violet is thinking about what her dad told her, where her dad says, scribes hold all of the power. She has a dream. Oh, yeah, she's having the dream, and that was her dad. And this is the assassination attempt. And Andarna freezes time.
Tarin wakes her up.
Yes.
And then Tarin's like, move, like, you gotta do something. And Andarna stops time. and then Xaden comes in and kills everybody. Our protagonist would not survive without these 3 helpers.
True, but I think she did pretty good for waking up caught off guard against that many people. Even if she didn't have the outside help, she would have died. But given how far she got into protecting herself, I thought it was a great display of power and skill of how much she has improved from day one.
I agree. What I also find odd is that her signet didn't manifest in that moment, though.
Oh, yeah, I've been
It manifested in your moment of need, and you were almost murdered. Why didn't your lightning signet show up? I like the reveal it gets later.
There's supposed to be small signs of it because either Xaden or Tarin was cluing into that being her signet before she even had it.
Her hair was frizzier than normal.
I don't remember there being a moment of just a hint of it going on outside. No, I don't think so. Just Andarna freezing time. So that is the end of chapter 18.
Yeah, it's pretty rad.
It was intense. Very intense. I was more prepared. The first time going through, my heart rate actually increased with it. But I am so into this book. I just love it so much. Chapter 19, Xaden arrives and he starts with, "You're all fucking dead."
Yep. Yeah, which was true. They all died. And I love that Garrick, I think, shows up and is like, "So, didn't ask any questions or anything of anybody? No need to interview anybody and see what the fuck's going on here?" And Xaden's like, "I didn't leave anybody alive." Like, no, I guess we don't ask him questions now.
No, because why bother? They went in to go kill her. You guys are all going to die, no matter if it's now or later. Might as well be now. But I think there was more passion in his kills to save Violet because at one point...
He had an outburst.
He had an outburst, but it's, I think, in this chapter or the next chapter, he says that he wished that he killed them slower.
Yeah, and also, okay, if Violet didn't see Amanda, what's that lady's name?
Amber.
If Violet hadn't seen her, this actually would have been a bad deal that he went through and killed them all before getting any information.
Yes.
So, to be fair, he should have maybe examined this and said, I jumped the gun. I should have left one of them alive so that I could question them before killing them. But luckily, Violet saw and knew it was Amber.
That, or if he wasn't starting to get feelings for Violet. Oh, wow. Yeah, now that you pointed it out, I think that there's signs that they are feeling bonded to each other, like Tarin and Sgaeyl, because this is when he starts being more protective of her, because his power, he's capable of restraining everyone, just like grabbing all of them with his shadows, restraining them and holding them there until others showed up.
Yeah, 100% he could have. I understand him being protective of her life because it's tied to his, but it does not explain the emotion he's operating with.
Yeah, I would agree, because the biggest one that stood out to me was him saying that he wished that he did it slower to make them suffer for what they did to her. Because that had nothing to do with his life.
Right, yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Oh, yeah, I even have it here. When she says, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, in her head, he then says, yes, you're alive, with panic in his eyes. And she says, I didn't think I said that out loud. And he says they should have killed them slower. And yeah, we talked about this at the beginning, where he's removing her corset. She is obviously...
Again, I know how to remove a corset. You took it as such a, adorable move. And I'm like, I don't know why that's an orgasmic move, given all it means is that he's removed other corsets. It's like, he didn't study this for her.
No, it was, I think she's just enamored with him, Twitter-pated. Yes. She's so thirsty.
Yeah, I didn't get one compliment on knowing how to remove a bra from you. Not one. I was so proud of myself. I'm like, one hand up, and you're like, not cool. Xaden's like, I know how to do it too. And I was like, ooh. No, I get it. Her having this moment really is important for the story that they're telling.
He hears all of her thoughts in this moment.
Yeah. Well, no, he knows her intentions in this moment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty
I guess you could
obvious.
probably hear her thoughts too, because he does reply to her thoughts earlier.
I think it's a little more than an intention or a feeling that he gets. I think he can read things.
With her, at least, it's more.
Yeah, there's something to it.
I would agree.
Oh, I wrote this note down for you. They leave, and she asks Xaden, why don't we just leave in a shadow? And he's like, because that would be obvious walking down the halls.
That is my favorite Xaden moment in this entire book, where he just calls her out on her stupidity sometimes, where he's like, the fuck? He's like, oh, yeah, nobody's going to notice a black cloud moving through. Like, come on, man. Use your head. I loved it. It was the most endearing Xaden moment. But I like that you got yours just before this, and then I got mine right afterward.
Yeah, so we're both happy.
Yeah.
With Xaden, even.
Yeah.
Then they go see Tarin and Sgaeyl. That's when we learn about all of their thoughts. Andarna's super freaking cute. Just do. She was like, I do what I want.
She's so funny. But she also says something that I find odd later. So she says, I have elders, right? I have many elders.
Okay.
And I thought that would be, it's like, I get that there are many older dragons, but then that's true of every young dragon. Her being the last of her den would imply that she doesn't actually have any elders. She is the eldest of her den.
Yeah, but she remembers them from when she was in the egg?
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know when they quit existing. I remember she slept in the egg for a couple hundred years.
It's like 600 years.
Yeah, okay, yeah. She was in there for a while. I don't know. It's interesting.
But Andarna's power that she gave to Violet isn't a signet. That is specifically something that Andarna does.
It's a feather tail gift, and they lose those gifts as they mature.
Again, I think I'm being ridiculous, but I stand by it shows in Violet's time of need what she really needed was to go from one location to another.
Again, I want this to be true, but we have not seen Violet teleport anywhere. We've seen her run slightly faster. It has never been Violet just pops up somewhere. It's Violet arrived somewhere slightly sooner than people expected her to be there. I don't know. I just don't quite see it as the magic.
All right.
But I could be wrong. I would love to be wrong.
I will still be on the watch out for Truth Sayer.
Yes.
Or a version of that.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm going to be on the lookout for teleportation. Or whatever.
I think those are...
Spacewalker. Nightwalker. Streetwalker.
I don't remember what other second signet ideas there were out there.
There's piles of
so many.
And they're all just as... I think the theories are all just as valid. I think your theory is just as valid as mine. I think there's a million of them that... Rebecca Yarros is like, I thought it was obvious. I'm like, no, you didn't. You knew what you were doing. Or you would have blatantly said something by now. Don't pull this shit with me.
So they end that conversation that we learned that they can all think to each other except for Violet to Xaden directly. And that Andarna is not their child. She's just a little orphan baby.
It was cute, though. Xaden was so hurt.
Yeah.
When he thought that Sgaeyl hid it from him. He's like, why would you keep this from me? Did you keep a baby from me?
It came off like they are...
It's the trust.
It came off like boyfriend-girlfriend level of, oh my God, how couldn't you tell me this?
Oh, I took it as best friends. If my best friend called me tomorrow and he's like, I have a 2-year-old, and I'd be like, what? I talked to you every day for the last 2 years. You haven't brought this up one time? This is wild.
We haven't seen Xaden express any emotion, so it was just shows the level of intimacy that he has with his bond and what is coming with Violet and Tarin.
Nice.
No, that's not what I meant. Stop.
Sorry.
Chapter 20 is the whole moment of Amber, and I keep thinking Amber Heard.
Same trial, basically, honestly.
Amber is...
She's a shitbird.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. So she's third wing leader, Dain's ex, friends with benefits, and she's the one that let in the riders.
Yeah. And so Dain's signet is kind of pointless in a way.
Yeah.
I get that it's important, but we also learn that the dragons can just kind of do this anyway.
Oh, showing memories or isn't the memory stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, and they can even be particular about which ones are shown to everybody.
And this is the first time that it's ever happened with showing the memories.
Yeah, that we've seen, but it's really funny because the only other time we've heard it described is Dain's signet. And Dain's like, I can see recent memories. And we're like, oh shit, that's kind of cool. And then Violet's like, can you share the memory with everybody? And Tarin's like, yeah. And she's like, but not like all the stuff, just the pertinent information. And he's like, yeah, don't worry about it. And he like scrubs through her memory, gets just the important details, emails that to all the other dragons. Then those dragons email it to their people. And now everybody's seen everything that she needed them to see. Dain, again, loses 50 points in this moment because Dain does not believe her. Dain is just a shitbird. There's no other redeeming quality.
He actually demanded that she show him her memories.
Yeah, he was just a shit. I've got no love lost on Dain in this whole section.
Xaden was going up, Violet was, again, thirsty as always, but she finally acknowledged that she wants him, and that is why she hasn't slept with anyone this whole time, is because of Xaden and her feelings for him that she's been in denial over.
Well, and Dain. She also had feelings like that for Dain that she didn't express, to be fair.
Yeah.
And then by the time that she was willing to, it was kind of past the point where that attraction mattered. Yeah, it's a problem.
Tarin arrives, badass as ever, torches Amber, and I'm sure he got pleasure out of that.
No,
toasted.
Yeah, honestly, what I love is that her dragon was like, don't get her, because that's a natural thing. Like, he has this bond to her, even if she's a shitbird. But then Tarin's like, I fucking dare you to move. And then just snaps at him real quick, and the other dragon's like, fine, all right, whatever, I'm cool. And then he torches Amber.
But, like, her dragon had to have known what she did was wrong and that all of this was probably going to come to light.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it easier.
That's true.
You know?
He screamed or cried so loud that the windows broke.
Yeah, and I can understand this coming from the dragon, where he's like, oh, I love this person, and now they're dead, even if that person was a shit. And the dragon could have agreed with her logic on this.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a divide even between the dragons on how things need to be handled.
Yeah, where they're like, she's too fucking frail. And Tarin's like, I'm not frail enough to average out to a pretty average rider-dragon scenario.
That's all I had for notes. We got through nearly every single thing because I am writing down too many details. But I get so excited about all of them that I want to talk about all of them.
Yeah, I'm going to end on the note of, right, asshole Atos. He's made the full transition. And then we've got Xaden. The most redeeming thing that's ever happened with Xaden is she says, you're not going to believe me. And he's like, just tell me who it was. She's like, it was Amber, the important lady. And he's like, I'll take care of it.
And he does.
And then he does take care of it. And he doesn't need the proof from her. He just knows that she's being honest. Now, you could take this as he trusts her just crazy amounts, right?
Yeah.
Or he's an intrinsic and he knows that her intentions are she's not lying. It's that easy for him. So really, he got the validation Dain asked for passively.
Yeah.
And I think that that's also potentially the case.
Ooh, yeah, because I think Xaden, without his intrinsic power, still would have trusted her. But I guess we'll never know because he has always been an intrinsic, used it, and knew her intentions when she said that.
Yeah, we can't use the absence of proof to the contrary to prove our statements of how much he would trust her. I think he does just trust her because he just knows that her intention is not to lie or her intention is to convey the truth.
There's a moment somewhere in these chapters where Xaden says having a second signet is like currency when talking about don't talk about Andarna and what you can do, keep that a secret. It's a clue to his second signet because he knows how valuable it is to keep that secret. But it also makes me wonder, is Violet going to keep her second signet a secret?
Any secret effect of your signet is like currency.
Yeah.
Is the thing, too. Anything that nobody else knows of, basically. Secrets, it's spycraft, right? Secrets are the currency to things. What blows my mind is Xaden's ability to keep his second signet secret. Incredible. Because, like, they know that it either manifests as this person's crazy or they get a second signet if the dragon bonds with somebody's relative, right?
Well, even with a cadet that didn't bond with a dragon that bonded to a previous relative, he was just an intrinsic and he was going crazy and wanted it to stop. And it was horrible. What was Xaden's first few years there?
Well, and I think that he kind of says that. He doesn't tell us that it's the second signet, but he says, when I was first learning to control my power, it was insanely difficult and blah, blah, blah. Which I think is pointing more toward his second signet than his first. But then I can also see the other side of this. Why does nobody else pick up on the fact that this dude has to have a second signet?
I didn't.
Yeah, but we kind of did. Like, we theorized this going through this the first time.
Don't remember this. I was...
Because he hasn't gone crazy.
I was completely blindsided. I just thought he was some special cadet that only got one signet, even though Sgaeyl didn't follow the rules.
But who else? Like, we don't ever hear of another person with two signets.
No, but there's also, I think at some point in the series, we're going to learn about a full intrinsic that got away with it.
And I think that's going to end up being Melgren.
Yes.
That would be cool. My guess. Is he doesn't actually just see the outcome of battles. He also is like semi-omniscient. And that's what keeps him in his place. Because seeing the outcome of battles doesn't necessarily, like, they go, oh, it's such an insanely valuable thing. It's like, no, I think most battles you can kind of see the outcome of.
Yeah, there's got to be something more to it, because you were kind of making a joke about this last time. Do we all have our own internal battles going on? Or why does he care that 3 cadets are with each other all the time at going to school, other than he can read more than just that?
Yeah, and also, if you're just gauging whether or not you win or lose a battle, because it doesn't say he sees the details of the battle, it says the outcome. So you just choose not to fight in areas where you would lose? No, you still have to have that battle, right? If it's for territory, let's say, we never hear about him not going into battle. Well, then what's the difference if he knows how it's going to end or not? They're not letting parts of their territory get taken over.
Well, he also can't even see battles that are going to happen if there's too many marked ones within it in the battle.
And currently there are none.
Yeah, that's why he doesn't see any of the upcoming ones where he makes different decisions, because he's aware of these ones and that they will win and strategizes. But there's a whole other battle he didn't even see, completely blinded by.
But this is what I'm saying. But leading up to the point where, as of right now, none of the battles are invisible to him, right? We never hear about them not going into battle. They still go into the battle. So it didn't do you any good to know that. It's a little bit like getting a diagnosis for a sickness that you're not going to treat. It doesn't actually change anything. You just become hyper aware of what's going on while it's happening.
Yeah.
So I don't see where that would cause you to be the most valuable person in this society.
Yeah,
so there's something else there.
Yeah, I think we pointed this out. Seeing the outcome of a battle of true or false, yes or no, we win, we lose. And even if it's the full outcome, we win, but it's like this, we lose, but it's like that, doesn't give off coda level powers to me compared to Violet's precision lightning and for how much she can use it for.
Well, and it's only really limited by Violet. To be fair, so far, Tarin's got enough power to go all day.
Yeah.
And in both books, it's like Violet's the conduit keeps getting burnt up.
Well, and she's improving and getting better and better. Now you have Melgren with a bigger, badder dragon and more experience to hone in that ability to use that.
In a body that's not frail.
Yeah. Huh. We better learn more about Melgren.
Yeah, and I assume the next book we learn a lot about Melgren as Xaden becomes, I think Xaden's going to have to become some sort of secret agent. We'll get into that later. That's the next book. We'll get into it later.
It'll be good.
It will be.
I love you.
I love you.
You are my bestie.
You're my bestie. It was a great time. We had fun. Now get out and go live your life.
No, wait. No. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate and love you all. Please follow us here, TikTok or Instagram at Yarros.Podcast.
And then go live your life.
Bye.
Bye. Get out. We're done. This was Daggers and Shadow Daddies. Now it's my time. Toodaloo. It was fun for us. I hope it was fun for you. But that's all we've got. Goodbye. Come back in a few days. We love you.